My point in sharing the callbacks and forwards with you exactly right now in an episode that's not specifically about callbacks and call forwards is to let you know that that's how I primed my ChatGPT. After doing the first few steps that I already told you, and I got to step number 4, I had to essentially teach ChatGPT about how I think of callbacks and call forwards, or whatever the episode is about. Just in my case, I have a podcast on podcasting. I help people with podcasts. I'm making podcast content, and the content that you hear in the next episode, which is used by ChatGPT, had to start by me also teaching ChatGPT my view on a callback and a call forward. I had to share with it how I think of it. I didn't want it to talk about somebody else's view. That wouldn't be authentic to me. I honestly don't think that would really help my avatar very well if I was just regurgitating content from some other podcast host. I needed it to learn my way of doing it. So in step 4, I taught it. I taught ChatGPT callbacks and call forwards. And it's able to sift through the crap because I'm just thinking off the cuff. I'm sharing with it all of the pieces. And then I'm going to ask it after to organize it into a good presentation, a good podcast episode. So step 4 is you've got to teach it about the thing. In this case, I taught it about callbacks and call forwards, which you'll learn in the next episode. And step 5 is you say things to ChatGPT like add humor or add a couple of analogies. It's just interesting how it can come up with interesting things that makes you think about it, in a different way. And I have a lot of fun creating content with ChatGPT. I do a lot of blogs. I do a lot of Facebook posts. And I'm starting now, after coming home from this event, I'm starting to use it more for my podcast episodes. So that's the 5 parts. You say, hey, and I want you to add humor, or I want you to add a couple of analogies, or I want you to speak from my voice, or I need you to look up a statistic that will help me to be able to illustrate this. And you'll hear that in the next episode. You'll hear how I used some stats that actually came from ChatGPT. I said, hey, I need you to look up something real and add it to this to help illustrate the point. And it was able to do it. So those are the 5 parts. Here's my actual prompt that I used. You can steal this if you want. You can use any part of this that you want. This is what I shared with ChatGPT. I said, write me a solo podcast episode for my podcast on podcasting. Then I said, my avatar, my main avatar is a podcaster who's been doing it for a couple of years, but they're not getting the results that they want. And then I also said, I've got a secondary avatar who's launching a podcast and never wants to go through the trouble that other person did by having a podcast for a couple of years that never gets results. I said, this is who I'm talking to. And I said, my niche is podcast growth and marketing. My tone is casual fun with some humor and personalized stories. And I said, structure the episode using Sean McCloskey's 7 parts, which, by the way, I'm going to teach you. I'm going to share with that in this episode, the 7 parts. I said, structure the episode using the 7 parts to storytelling that I learned from Sean McCloskey's speaker training. And I said, start with a bold hook and then write me a podcast episode that talks about calling forward and calling backward to be able to tease what's coming and to be able to get people to go back. And then I said, here's the benefits that I know about doing this. And that was my prompt. I sent it, and in about 3 seconds, I got everything figured out. Why does it work? Why does doing something like this help you with your podcast? It's storytelling meets the speed of AI, and your audience gets better episodes while you get your time back. So it's time for you to try this in your next episode. If it doesn't save you at least an hour, then I owe you a coffee. And when I say that, I mean maybe a virtual coffee, because I'm definitely not going to drive to Nebraska to buy you coffee. But when it comes to, and that's no offense if you live in Nebraska or anywhere else, I want to say that your podcast intern or ChatGPT, your AI, is ready for you. You just don't forget to teach it who you are, or else you'll end up with a show that sounds like LinkedIn wrote it.